to Cosplay Stitch and Seam. I'm Panin.
And I'm V-Fire! Yay!
Yay! So welcome back. We had a little unexpected hiatus due to weather and recent rescheduling stuff. So thank you guys for bearing with us.
Driving on my way to go record and then was like, I'm gonna die. And turned and went home.
Yeah, we don't need that kind of cosplay horror story, please.
No. Anyways,
yeah.
So snow has been sucky, although everyone's winter pictures that they've been sharing have been awesome.
I know, I'm so jealous. We got, maybe an inch and a half, and the rest was, freezing sleet, so the roads were nasty, but we couldn't really do anything picturesque out here.
Just gross
Tragedy.
Snow.
Just gross snow and frozen roads. But also way out here, we have, maybe one plow for, 3 cities, so, it's fine. It's fine.
We had a day where, even my job was don't come in.
Dang.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Dang.
It was awesome. Everybody, it's my
it's
house that I'm renting has a bunch of people in it. We were all snow day. We did facials. We did hot chocolate and watched movies all day, and we're super lazy.
So
it was amazing.
jealous. Sounds amazing. Well, I'll get through our usual house cleaning stuff and all that.
Oh yes.
If you guys would like to send us your ideas for episodes, your cosplay horror stories, we always need more of those, or just drop us a line, tell us you're enjoying the show, we love to hear about that too. You can email us at cosplaystitchandseam@gmail.com,
yep.
Or
you can come over to the website, cosplaystitchandseam.com. There's a form you can fill out. You can comment on the blog post. You can say hello. Or you can come over to the Facebook group and share there as well. Yeah,
it's getting bigger every day. I'm always there's new people, new faces, new posts, and people posting about their achievements and their works in progress, and it's a lot of fun. So come hang out with us on there.
Yeah. Also, I want to do a thank you to people who've been sharing the podcast. There's been a couple of comments here and there that we've gotten on Instagram and on Facebook of people who've shared stuff and they tag us, and thank you so much for helping share it. Word of mouth is the best way to get this out there, and we appreciate it.
Definitely, it's so cool. If you guys also would like to help us out with our broadcasting kind of fees and things like that to have our hosting, you can help us out on Ko-fi, and that is I don't have it in my notes.
www.ko-fi.com/coffee, spelled normal coffee way, 4 seams.com.
Coffee for Seams? Coffee for Cosplay Seams, right?
Coffee for Cosplay Seams, yes. I almost remembered that off the top of my head. Dang it.
We'll get it one of these times.
I should have picked a better... Every name that I wanted to use was taken, and I was like, why?
You guys may have noticed we did have to reschedule Twins at Cosplay. We're going to talk with them at another time.
Yes.
I live way out in the boonies, if nobody knows that already, and we had our only Wi-Fi tower went down for an entire week, and it just happened to be when we were supposed to record, so apologies for that as well, but we will still be meeting with them, and we'll have a forum post for you guys to ask questions. But this week, our episode is actually on budgeting for your cosplay.
Yay!
Yay! It is not really a word you hear with cosplay a lot, unless it's trying to do it on a budget.
Attempts were made.
Yes. One of my favorite is that infamous picture of the 3 Sailor Senshi, and they're being asked, how much did you spend on your cosplay? And they just all have these very relatable faces.
Yes.
Yeah, just yeah, ooh, ouch. So I hope this episode isn't misleading in saying it's about budget. We're not here to tell you, to spend less money. We're just wanting you to be aware of how much things are going to cost and help you kind of plan for it a little bit better.
Yeah, it's just kind of a plan ahead and if you want to try this thing, it's probably going to do this to you.
Right. And of course you definitely don't want your cosplay to be cutting into your budget for, your living expenses or, eating food or gas or, all those fun things.
We talk a lot about mental health. What about your wallet's health?
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, that is up to each and every person's own discretion. But we hope you're being responsible, and we hope this episode kind of helps you think of some ways that can help you save money, or at least help to plan for how much you're going to spend. If that does that make sense?
Yes.
Because I think cosplay, we all know, is going to be expensive. Even the simpler stuff is still expensive.
Yeah,
but
it can get pricey. But you can find shortcuts and things that can help kind of
definitely
make that as much of a bite out of your wallet as you would hope
exactly. For. Yep. Exactly. So ready to get into it?
Yeah, let's do this. Rah.
Okay. So as always, let's see. We're going to kind of talk about, like, you're going with 3 things here, and it's accuracy, your time, and your money. And you can choose to spend those 3 things any way you like, but if you put in a lot of money and you want it to be accurate, you're going to want to make sure you have the time to spend to make sure that the quality is good, right?
There's 3 categories. You got accuracy, time, and money that you can put, I don't know what to call these sticks, but you've only got 2 of the sticks, and you can only pick 2 of them. I don't know why they're sticks right now. I can't come up with a good analogy for this, but a lot of times, like, if you want it to be super accurate, that means you're going to have to spend a lot of time.
Or a lot of money.
Yes, to get it done. If you want it to be very timely, get it done very quick, you're probably going to lose out on accuracy or have something that's very cheaply made.
Or very expensive because it's last minute.
Yes.
But yeah, basically you're trying to divide those 3 things up in a way that makes sense for you. You can, recently I was making Prompto from Final Fantasy 15, and you can buy those clothing that they wear in the game, like it's literal real clothing.
Yep.
But it's $2,000 per, to get the whole set, you're going to be spending more than $2,000 for the actual clothing,
Holy crap.
It's ridiculous. Well, it's designer brand stuff,
That's right.
So, it would definitely be the most accurate because that's exactly what they're wearing. But, we're gonna do our best to replicate that with what we can afford. And it's also good to remember that a lot of characters have simpler, more casual, easy to recreate options, or even putting your own twist on a character and making it into something that fits your budget is never a bad idea.
Yeah.
I love seeing a modern interpretation of the Disney princesses, and a lot of that stuff you can thrift. You just need a wig, but the rest you can put together from a thrift store.
Yeah, that's actually something I want to throw out there really quick, is when you sit down to start a project, and you've gone through and you've listed out all the items that you need and what are the different clothing items and whatnot on the character.
Right.
Look through your closet first.
That's a good idea.
Look through your closet. Look through, if you have already been making cosplays for a while, look through your supplies first. I am such a bad offender of this. I have bought so much of a certain material that I have too much of it now, and I'm not allowed to buy it until I use all of it. Leather.
You and leather.
Yes, I have a lot of it right now. And so, yeah, it's going to help save me money by not buying more of it and putting it towards a project. And not just collecting it. But yeah, so those are things. I think that's the number one thing you should do is check your closet, check your supplies, see what you have already before you go out and buy more.
Exactly. That actually leads into the next thing, is making a list of what you need. You want to break down your costume into its most simple components. I need this kind of pair of pants. I need this kind of a shirt. It's going to be layered in this. If you're making it from scratch, you're also going to want to look at like yardages on your fabric. This one is going to take up this much fabric. This one's going to be this much fabric. This one's I'm going to have to buy this much Wonderflex. I'm going to have to buy this much Warbler. You know, break it down so you know, like, each itemized thing, and then that's going to give you a way better idea of what it's going to cost. If you need a pattern, your pattern's actually going to list how much fabric something takes up on the back of it. Like, I don't know if this is, like, a shock to anyone. Yay, good. But patterns, like, even if you don't buy the pattern, if you want to know how much fabric a pair of pants costs, look at a pattern for a pair of pants. It will tell you exactly how much fabric that takes.
Yep. You don't even have to open up the pattern. You can just be there at the store looking through patterns, pick it up, look at the back, and boom, there's 2 yards of fabric. Awesome.
There's a little size chart, and it will tell you based on your measurements, which you would have to know.
Yes.
But based on your measurements, you can look at the little chart. It'll tell you depending on your size, and also it'll tell you depending on what kind of fabric, how much you're going to need, because fabrics will come in different widths. So you'll have one that's maybe 44 inches wide, so you'll need more of it than you would if there's a fabric that's 60 inches wide. Does that make sense? Yeah. But it'll tell you how much, depending on the width of fabric, on your size, everything like that. That's what those giant charts on the back are for. So yeah, make good use of that. And also, if sorry to jump like straight into fabric, it was just the next thing on my list.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
But when you're doing fabric, remember also, like, there's lining to think of, and that's going to be just as much as you need on the outside. Your interfacing, which is like if you need anything on your costume to be stiffer, like collars or cuffs, things that have interfacing.
What's also nice about those patterns is that they will list those as well on the back.
I like if like a jacket, if I'm doing something heavy, I like to do a mid lining, like in a heavier fabric. So if my outer fabric that I found, like maybe it's a great color, but it isn't very thick, I use that to like thicken the jacket. I'll add like, and that doesn't even have to be a pretty fabric. It can just be some junk fabric, as long as it's not like
doesn't see
white
through.
On the outside. Yeah, exactly.
That's actually really clever. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. But yeah, just make sure you're putting that into your calculations as well, because there's nothing quite as frustrating as like getting everything ready to go, and then you're like, oh, I don't have lining. Oh, I didn't think about this other thing, you know. So just make sure you're breaking all these pieces down into their smallest components. Most fabric stores, especially if they're a chain store like Joann's, I know Hancock isn't around as much anymore, but most of them will still have coupons or apps that will get you extra discounts.
If it's a store that has coupons, that's the game that you need to play. If you go in and you pay full price, you are doing it wrong.
Yep.
I mean, especially like Joann's, they give out so many coupons that like if you go in and you pay full price, you could just imagine me holding your face and being like, honey, no.
Yeah, especially if you're not in a hurry to make this costume. I think this kind of falls into the like time and money and all that thing. But like if you're not in a hurry, like break up your coupons over time so that every time you go in, you're getting something at a discount. Is definitely going to help you out.
Yeah, and you can even just wait around for those sales and whatnot. Like, most places, like, list out what their sales are going to be for the next month or so. Yep. And so you can be like, oh yeah, this is going to go on sale then. Okay, I can wait till then. I know sometimes, like, especially me, I get excited. I sometimes have to hold my own face and be like, honey, no, after I bought stuff.
Right.
I was like, I get excited, I want to make it now, and then I buy this stuff and it sits for, 2 weeks, and then that sale happens, and it's like, well, I should have probably waited.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, and then also things like, all the little things are what end up costing the most for me, because I'll buy the fabric and I'll be like, oh, I got it for 60% off. It was only like $20, and then I'll end up spending $50 in trim and thread and buttons and all the stupid little notions. Because I'm like, oh, it's a little thing. Oh, it's a little thing. Because with the little things, they take one coupon each, you know?
Yeah.
And I need like 5 of the little things. Yep. So if you can come back and get the little things on every visit, you're gonna, like, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it adds up really fast.
Yeah, or find a coupon that kind of encompasses all of them.
Yeah, a lot of times they'll do like all notions are on sale, or all thread is on sale, or whatever.
They sometimes even have coupons for all notions, and I love those ones.
Yes. Let's see. But yeah, general advice is get all the discounts you can. I know a lot of other fabric stores will usually take competitor coupons. So, I mean, make sure to check with the places first.
Yeah, it never hurts to ask.
Yeah. And they may not be able to match it completely, but it's worth asking. Most of them expect that. And just be polite and nice about it.
Yeah. Yeah, and the same thing goes with, like, patterns. If you want to purchase a pattern, watch for when it goes on sale, because patterns can be pretty pricey. Oh my
gosh. Patterns are like, okay, I go when they have the, like, $1 or $2 for a pattern sale, and I will just, like, get, like, 20 patterns at once. And I tell you, there is nothing as exhilarating as seeing, like, them ring it up and you're at, like, $300. And then they're like, oh, after all the discounts, it's only $15.
It's like, oh, yeah.
And it's just like, I have this minor panic of, oh, what if it doesn't come off? And then it does, and I'm just like, I saved so much money, even though I still spent money. I saved so much money!
$15 is definitely better than $300.
yeah, exactly. That's what I tell myself. But yeah, also when those sales come, make sure you know what you need, because otherwise you will end up buying a lot of patterns and things you don't need. And also with patterns, this is like a shout out to my plus size girls, but make sure you check the right size, because a lot of patterns are not for every single size. They will go like a size 2 to 16, and then they'll do like a 16 to 24 sort of a thing. So make sure you're checking, because they are sized differently.
Yes. Also, most of them, no matter what size you are, check that, because I have gone and been like, this is the pattern that I need, and I didn't check the size, and I get home and I'm like, oops.
Yes, exactly. But making most patterns, commercial patterns nowadays will come in like up to a size 24, but not all of them will. So make sure you're checking that before you get like really excited that a pattern is there, and then
we could probably say it for like another time that if you do have one that doesn't quite get to your size, there's ways to modify a pattern, but that could be a whole nother episode. Totally.
But yeah, if we don't have time to touch on that, just Google pattern drafting, and there's ways to size things up or down to fit if you have a pattern that doesn't quite reach your size. Let's see.
So you had a note here on like having something cheaper to practice on.
Yeah, this kind of falls under, like, any of these materials we're going to mention.
Yes.
But make sure, like, there's nothing that makes me sadder than seeing someone buy, like, a really expensive, like, Warbler or silk or velvet or something, and they don't know, like, how that fabric's gonna act, or they don't know, like, they're still kind of beginner with their skill set. And it's not bad to use great materials from the outset, but please have something cheaper to practice on, so that you're not, running through your expensive fabric. If you're going to use expensive fabric right from the get-go, and I even do this, because I'm afraid of messing up on expensive things, but, like, do mock-ups, do, like a foam version of your prop before you think about doing it in other substances. Do like a printout of your props, so you know exactly how much square footage you need, so you don't have to overspend. But yeah, practice on things that are cheaper. It will save you so much in the long run. And it's definitely not to say you shouldn't be using quality products in your cosplay, but most of us, and I say this like just because my wallet has cried bitter tears, but like most of us have bought the more expensive stuff and then been like in tears because we ruined it.
I do this all the time. I am getting better about making mock-ups before I sew into the nice fancy fabric that I spent a lot of money on.
So much.
But yeah, try not to, Leroy Jenkins your way into something.
Oh my gosh. Like, I feel so bad every time someone is like, oh, your Sailor Moon, your Princess Serenity is so pretty, and how did you do your little arm sleeve puffs? And I'm like, I put hot glue on Dupioni silk that was like $30 a yard. And I really liked how it ended up looking, but I was like in tears doing it, going, I put hot glue on silk, so yeah, just I'm sorry. But yeah, I feel like there's a common misconception that jumping in with the most expensive fabric or most expensive thermoplastic or most expensive 3D printer or whatever is going to be the best, and you have to use that from the very start. And that's not true. It's always good to know the basics in anything, and you have to start somewhere, but it's never good to it's never bad to
you can try similar methods on something that's cheaper, kind of master the technique, and then do it on the fancy stuff.
Exactly. And
it feels like some of you might be sitting here thinking, like, but that's going to cost more because I have to buy cheap stuff on top of the expensive stuff. It's better than buying the expensive stuff twice. 3 times.
No. And then my last one with fabric I had here was, are you doing custom printed fabric? If you are doing that, that's cool. That's totally cool. But make sure you weigh the cost of doing that by hand versus having it custom printed somewhere.
Yes. And by hand can include your time.
Yes, definitely.
So when we worked
because your time is worth something, guys.
Yeah, when we worked on Octavia. So we custom printed her the pattern for her whisk and all the scales for her mermaid tail. Right. But there were a bunch of like little tiny what is that thing called? Fleur-de-lis. Yes, that thing. There were a bunch of those all over blue fabric, and so we could have custom printed that, but we decided that budget wise, we're like, we'll just hand do it. If I were to do that again, I probably would custom printed it. It's to me, because Sadie spent massive amount of time creating a pattern because they all had to be spaced out perfectly, and she cut out drew out all of them. There were over 300 of them on just one piece. Yeah. She drew them all out and then hand cut all of them out, and then that just took her forever. Her wrist was hurting at the end too, and just like by the time we were finally able to like lay it down on the fabric, and we did a fabric spray over the top of it, like it looked awesome. But it just had taken us so long to get there, where it's like, well, I could have just worked this many hours, less hours even at work, and been able to just purchase it. And it's still, like, I make my repeating patterns, but then I have somebody else print them for me.
Yeah, fair. But yeah, just make sure you're keeping, like, your own time is worth something, and it totally depends on what you're doing it for, because I think that was a really good, like, point in your craftsmanship, that you guys had done that by hand. Yeah. But, if that's not something that you necessarily want to do or suffer or, it also had, like, sometimes it's worth it.
Yeah, it had like little flaws in it where like where the pattern didn't lay down perfectly, so the paint would like smear and whatnot. But that worked fine for Octavia because she looks like a smeared painting. So yeah. But like if you were trying for something really clean, you will want to weigh that and make sure that, okay, if I'm going to do this by hand, I want to take the extra time and effort to make it, if you need it to be clean. Right.
And then my last note with fabric, and I think this can go into like any of your build materials, but don't fall in love with the first match.
Yes.
It may be that you come back to it, but sometimes the first one, like you'll go and like just buy it right off, and then you regret because you find something better like a couple days later because you looked at another store. Like, hopefully you're not in a huge hurry with that, because that is one of the things that helps your budget, is to not be in a huge hurry. But yeah, like, don't be afraid to come back if something isn't fitting what you want it to be.
Yeah.
Let's see. Moving on to other building materials. I didn't include leather, because I figured you would want to talk about that one.
I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you want to be making stuff for leather, I highly, highly, highly suggest, and this kind of goes along with like what we talked about with fabric and whatnot, make a pattern first. Make it out of cardboard or a cheap material, just as we said before, and that will help you figure out, okay, what size is it? Am I going to be able to move in it? Because cardboard and hardened leather anyways kind of have a similar feel to it.
I was going to say, what kind of cardboard now with this?
Yes. Yeah, it depends. Yeah, if you're doing like a hardened thing, you want to use cardboard. If you're doing like a softer leather, you can do... Just kind of think about like the thickness of your leather and find a cheap material that kind of does the same. So like some leather moves like fabric,
gotcha.
so you could just make that pattern using fabric. Others,
okay.
Well, if you want to make it hard armor, you probably want to use cardstock, poster board, or good old cardboard to just kind of get you started on that.
I want pictures next time you do this.
Oh my gosh.
I want your cardboard mock-up.
Oh my gosh. I've got a poster board one of Aloy's, some of her armor pieces.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I got a poster board pieces, and then for the fabric part, I actually used just newspaper. Because like I just needed to get an idea of like what the shapes were and how many yardages I needed to get.
Yeah, for me I use like the thin funny foam kind of things, those little flimsy foam sheets.
Yeah.
Because I know they're close to some leathers, and also for like doing your thermoplastic patterning, things like that, I'll usually do the base pattern out of foam and then take it apart and use the foam pieces to lay down on the thermoplastic before I cut it out.
That's not a bad idea, actually. It's a very good idea.
Yay!
But yeah, having that pattern prepared beforehand and then laying it out and seeing how the pieces can fit together. Because one nice thing about leather is there's not really a grain line.
Ooh.
And so you can kind of see how much you can fit in for every square footage. Now, on that note, when you go and buy the leather and you pull it out, there's going to be marks, and like not every piece of leather is going to be flawless. It's going to have texture and changes to it, and even different parts of it will dye differently than other parts to it. That is so annoying.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's happened. But you can get an idea of just how much of the piece you need to get, and then you can bring it home, and then you have all those pattern pieces in front of you. You can lay them out and find the best use of space. And that way you don't have to waste like tiny pieces of leather. You can waste tiny pieces versus big chunks that you're like, well, this doesn't fit anything anymore.
Right. And I think that also carries over into like thermoplastics and foams and other building materials like that, is like knowing your square footage, what you're going to need. What I really like is when you can, like, for me, I'm a very tall human. And so when I do my props and stuff, I like to size them to my own height, so they feel like a little more like they fit to me, like the way they would with the character.
See, and I'm short, so that's what I do for myself as well, because I don't want to actually hold a 6-foot Buster sword.
So I look at it and go, okay, so it's this tall on the character, which means it should be this tall on me, and then I'll either draw or do like a computer printout, so I have that in that exact size in paper, and I know exactly, like, square foot wise, like how much material I'm going to go through, how many sheets of Warbler or Wonderflex or foam or EVA that I'm going to need to recreate that.
Yeah, and on that note too, like, you can find people who've already made these kind of like prop blueprints
Yeah.
online. I actually used that for Aloy for her spear. I really wanted to get her done, get the spear done by a certain time, and making the pattern myself is a huge time dump, and so I ended up just purchasing a pattern, and I printed it out, taped all the pieces of paper together, kind of like held it up against myself, and was like, yeah, this looks good, and I didn't have to resize it at all, which was nice.
Nice. The other thing I will say, and this actually works with both leather and thermoplastics, and fabric too, if we're honest when we were talking about coupons. But planning in advance like that's gonna save you from having to buy like from retailers who would mark stuff up. I know, like, if you can order, when Warbler or some of the websites have a sale, you're gonna get a way better deal than if you have to run to like a local distributor.
Yes.
Not that you shouldn't support local businesses and things like that, but if you're looking to save money, you're gonna get a better deal that way. If money's less of an option, then luckily a lot of places are starting to carry stuff like that. But
it has become that has become a very nice thing of having local distributors of like Warbler and whatnot. Now, because they are local, it does mark it up a little bit.
Yes.
But it just, you gotta check and see, okay, what's most important to me right now, and go with that.
Let's see. Anything else you want to cover with thermoplastics and props and things?
With thermoplastics, if you haven't used it before, have some test pieces. So when I was actually working on my Zora armor, and the Thebra, I was
gonna say the same thing. I really like Thebra, but I picked it was the wrong thing to pick for the project I did.
And I feel like with a little bit more experience, I would have been able to make the Thebra on my armor a lot smoother. My main concern at the beginning was, is this gonna stick to my plastic base for all my armor pieces and not fall off? That was because I've seen people who's like stick stuff to like Sintra or other PVC plastics, and like you hit it just right and their details fall off, and it's really sad to see that happen. So what I did for a test piece is I had an extra scrap of some stuff laying around. I just kind of took a bit of a corner, cut out some similar shapes to what I'd be making on the Zora armor, heated them up, put them onto the piece, and then I took a hammer to it after it was cooled. And it did not disappoint. It does not come off. If a part of it starts peeling up, and if you grab that edge, you can actually peel it off.
Wow.
But a hammer will not take it off.
Nice.
So I was like, I am satisfied.
Good.
Not that I plan on like getting hit with a hammer while in that costume. That would be awful.
Yeah.
But it made me confident that wouldn't fall off. Now, my technique in like making each piece smooth and not look like bubblegum, that I still gotta work on.
I was gonna say, like it definitely follows in with what we were saying earlier with the like having a cheaper alternative to test, or just testing in general is gonna help you hugely, because that's actually kind of my horror story for this week, was the freaking Thebra for Prince Sidon, because I wanted to cry, and like it's a really cool substance to use, but trying to sculpt a belt and like bracers and ankle thingies out of it was like trying to sculpt with silly putty.
Have you seen what oh shoot, what is the name of that crafter? Hang on, you go on with your story, I'm gonna look her up.
No, you're good. But yeah, I was like trying to sculpt with silly putty, and I mean, there are definitely some things where that's the consistency that you want, but when I couldn't like pick pieces up to move them around without it stretching out, it was really frustrating, and I had already invested thinking I knew what I was doing, and I did not. So yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Down in Creative Studios. She takes Thebra and puts it in silicone molds.
Ooh.
And, like, it is...
That's a really good idea.
It's amazing! I'm gonna send the link to you right now, actually.
Yes!
But, like, it's really cool. So, like, if anybody just, like, look her up, she's working on something right now, like, really Greek-looking armor, and it is
Oh, that's a really
gorgeous.
good idea. That is a way good idea. I'm gonna do that, actually.
Yeah, and it's, like, seeing that, it's, like, it comes out smooth, it comes out, like, really nice, and that's really cool. It's, like, about following, like, other people online, is that you can find really cool tricks like that, and it saves you the trouble of being like, oh, I don't have to test that out now. She did it. It also looks amazing.
Yes.
But yeah, so I think that's it on that stuff. What was next on the list? I lost my list. There it is.
Oh no.
Found it.
I was just gonna make mention, we kind of went over this already, but paint and also dye.
Oh yes.
Like, they are often a cheaper alternative, and knowing how to use them is definitely gonna, like, be to your benefit. But also, it's one of those tested out kind of a things. Like, if you bought your nice expensive fabric and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna do this dye test, like, maybe do it on a small scale first.
Yes.
Because dyes and paints are notoriously messy.
And even then, sometimes the dye still lies to you. I'll save that for my cosplay horror story.
Oh no!
I don't think I've shared that one yet.
No. I love and hate dye. Like, I love how it looks, but sometimes I hate it so much. I'm working on my Gerudo Link like I promised I would, and I need to dye him, and I've just been procrastinating that step for like a week now. But I need to do it. So yeah, next,
for me, it's like, for me, on my advice on dyes is try it. Like, don't just like completely knock it. It is a good thing to go out and try. Me
definitely.
Personally, I avoid it unless I absolutely have to, especially when it comes to fabric and wigs. Mm-hmm. For leather, it's kind of a required thing because you can't always, for the most part, buy your leather in the color that you want, especially if you're going to harden it and make it armor grade. But when it comes to, like, fabric and wigs, like, give it a shot, but it's okay if, like, you realize, okay, that's not my thing. And so I always use it as a last resort.
See, the funny thing is, like, I love doing it on wigs. Like, I don't mind dyeing wigs at all, but fabric, I hate doing it.
on wigs, I like adding in, it's not highlights because it's darker. Like coloring in roots and whatnot and adding like a little bit of texture, but doing like a full wig dye scares me.
Oh, gotcha.
I've done it a couple times and it has not turned out the way I want them to.
Oh no. But learning experiences, right?
Yeah.
And also in that same vein, like spray paints and other finishes, making sure with your props and things that you're testing that out. Especially if you're in a climate where the weather and temperature fluctuate a lot. It sucks because sometimes you'll do a spray paint test one day and it looks fine, and then the next day it's all bubbly and gross. And
that's one thing to avoid that. Make sure you shake the bottle for like the 2 minutes that it tells you to do. Because especially if it's an older spray paint, like one that you've had sitting around for a year, if you don't shake it for that full time, it will not mix properly, and that's how you get the bubbles and the cracking. If it's been sitting outside in the elements, well, not necessarily like in the rain and whatnot, but like your spray paint has gotten cold and frozen over the winter, and then it has warmed up for the summer and you go to use it, it's going to crack or do something weird. I've started to store my spray paints in a safe cabinet inside, instead of out in the garage anymore, because yeah, I've had so much money just go down the drain because of that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Boo. But yeah, making sure that you test it first on things, so you're not like having to take some acetone back on and take off all your paint, and that's never fun.
Or depending on the material, have to sand it all off and you're just crying the whole time.
The worst. Next up I have wigs. Now wigs are kind of a tricky mixed bag. I prefer to go with trusted sites and sellers, like, without naming names. I think there's quite a few US retailers, that are my go-tos because they ship within a few days. I know their line of products pretty well, and I know what I'm getting. And I don't feel like there's as much risk. Whereas,
you've got some that you've come to trust.
Yeah. If I go to, like, eBay or something and I look for a cheap wig, it's gonna be cheap. It's gonna take a long time to get here, and it may or may not be what I want.
I call it wig gambling.
It is like wig gambling.
You win, and you're just like, I got this for so cheap, and it's amazing. And other times, what happened to Renna?
Easter grass. What?
Renna and her 3 white wigs.
Oh no!
And they weren't wigs.
Oh no!
They sent her hair, like, these little, like, hair tie things.
I have had that happen before too. I was supposed to get 2 wigs, and I got hair bows, and I was like, this is not wigs.
Like, this is really different. This is not.
Angry.
Beautiful. But yeah, so wig gambling. You'll get a really awesome wig, or you'll get hair bows.
Yeah, and then the other part with that is, like, especially if you're trying to do it for a specific event, sometimes knowing how long the shipping is going to take is a gamble as well, because sometimes those eBay ones you'll get within, like, a few days, and sometimes it'll be, like, 2 months later.
Yeah.
So yeah, just
for me, the wig is
weigh your options.
Yeah, for me, the wig is one of the first things that I get, because shipping's not always reliable.
Right.
Like, wigs just usually tend to take a little longer, especially from where I buy. And that's
a lot of the wig stores, though, will have sales, and if you go to cons regularly, they'll usually have a discounted rate at their booths, if you can catch them at a con. Like, I love to be able to buy it at a con, because I can see it in person, and I know that it's what I want. And that's what I like.
Exactly.
And you, like I said, they will cost more, but you definitely have that assurance that you know the product is good, or even being able to see it in person is awesome. Let's see. Shoes?
Shoes. I like shoes.
Let's get some shoes.
Shoes. Shoes are awesome because, like, I always love going to thrift stores. Yeah. Finding a shoe and being like, oh, this one's got the perfect shape, and it's like bright pink. And I'm like, I'm gonna make it a bad vampire shoe. Yeah. And, turn it not pink.
I mean, most of the time when I'm going to a thrift store for shoes, like, it's something that I'm going to cover most of it in something else anyway. So I hate buying a brand new shoe and having to do that, because it feels like, well, if I was going to buy a brand new shoe, I'd get something that was pretty and I wanted to wear, not something I was going to cover up. So yeah, I like using thrift store shoes as bases, especially if you're going to cover them anyway. But I mean, it also, why not? Yeah.
Yeah, you can also look through, like, your own old shoes and be like, oh yeah, I really love this pair. Yeah. It's kind of falling apart here, but, like, if I stitch that up and then cover it with the, like an armored sole, or, like, turn it into this kind of boot or this kind of shoe, like, it covers that up and it's still usable. Now, my advice on this, though, is to always check the bottom of the shoe. Oh, okay. Because if it has no grip, you'll have no grip. And there's actually stuff. That is true. Yes, I've slipped and fallen off stages before. In front of a bunch of screaming children because of a pair of shoes that I wore out really bad. No. It was awesome. They weren't screaming children. They were just sort of very excited that I fell off the stage. Yeah, so you just kind of want to check the bottoms of them, and there's actually stuff that you can buy that kind of replaces that and gives you the grip back, so you can make that shoe last even longer. Nice. So yeah, check the quality of the shoe and kind of decide, is this a quality I'm okay to deal with? Am I okay buying, spending a little extra to add a new bottom to it, essentially, which they're usually not that expensive. I can't remember exactly
Yeah.
But they're usually not super pricey, but you gotta be like, okay, am I willing to add this little extra price on?
Right.
And,
right.
Yeah.
Right. Nice. Then I've got accessories. You can, there's so many things you can make accessories out of, depending on what they are, and they're all going to have a different cost and price tag attached to them. Like if you're doing sculpted, Sculpey Fimo clay, or if you're doing cast metals, if you, like, resin casting, or buying beads in plastic, like, when I did Phi from Tsubasa, like, years ago, I was taking a jewelry making class at the time, and it's not part of his costume in the show, but I was like, I want to make a silver bracelet that looks like his phoenix back tattoo, and because I thought it was so cool.
It is so cool.
And I used, like, my entire jewelry class budget for that one project, because it's real silver, like, and it has about 53, like, weld points on it, but but it was cool, and I wanted to make it.
Yeah, it is cool.
So just be aware of, like, what your materials are, and that can definitely affect your budget, even if it's a little thing. As much as I love resin casting, it is an expensive one to get started on, because you need practice with the chemicals, but you also need, like, the mixing bowls, you need the silicone molds, you need, depending on the molds you're using, you need, like, spray, mold release stuff, you need dyes.
If you want to cast anything in actual metals, you're gonna need a foundry, you're gonna need all the tools that come with keeping you safe from all the heat, and all that kind of stuff. I would say, have been making, by the way, so many metal rings with my husband and his siblings, and it's really freaking awesome.
That is really cool.
Yeah. For those who don't know, my husband has a foundry, and we've been having a lot of fun with it now that we actually have a place where we can, just pull it out in the backyard and light it up. Where at our apartments we couldn't do that.
Exactly. But, like, kind of, like, evaluate if this is going to be a skill that you want to invest in, or if it's just something you want to do for this one costume. And if it's just for the one time, like, it's okay to buy jewels or things that are already made, instead of things that you have to get, a foundry to put together.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I have to say about accessories.
Yeah, so, I think with me for accessories, again, like, if you go to the thrift store, you might even find something there, like, even if it's just, like, the chain on a necklace that's already there, it's like, oh yeah, this will work out great.
For sure.
To, oh, this is a really weird shaped thing, I'm gonna use that.
Yeah. Well, and also for props, with thrifting that, like, you can get all kinds of good prop bases and things at a thrift store.
Purses. Pouches. Purses make great pouches.
Yeah, I have done that for almost every Link bag. I just go and get, like, a leather thrift store bag.
Yep.
And stick it on, because it works.
Like, done. Looks great. It's gorgeous.
No one will ever know.
Link's kind of girly. Come on.
I mean, Link's the best. He can be whatever he wants to be.
He can be. Don't judge his man purse. Okay.
He can wear a purse. He has to carry everything. He can carry it however he wants to.
Exactly.
So we've talked a lot about the crafting side of things, but I also wanted to talk about, like, if you are someone who shops online or commissions from other people.
Yeah.
Because we also want to make sure that we touch on how you can, like, budget for things, and at least know, even if you're not, like, stuck to a small budget, to at least know how much you should be saving going in. If you're shopping online,
and also
make sure you find places.
Also talk about etiquette for when interacting with a commissioner.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry, I interrupted.
So with shopping online, no, it's good. With online stores and commissions, like, find places you can trust, or commission someone you can trust. Talking to your friends, asking for opinions is a really good idea, because you'll want to make sure that you're finding somewhere that can fit you. Most of the like online shops, if you're buying a like set size, it's going to be just like at the store. If you are buying clothing in a set size, it may not fit you as well as something that is they take your measurements for. If I have ordered stuff online, I always make sure it's one that actually takes my measurements into consideration, because I don't have a lot of straight size measurements. So just making sure that it is an option instead of just going with stuff that has straight sizes, unless the straight sizes work for you, and then I am jealous. But yeah, it makes sure that you have better sizing options and a better fit in the end, because they're basing it off of your actual measurements.
Yes.
And this is the same with commissioners too. Like if your commissioner is asking for like a size instead of a measurement, I would be a little worried, you know? But yeah, make sure you're getting opinions. Make sure, if you can, that other people have can vouch for the store that you're shopping from. Or that you can find a list of reviews that aren't on their personal website.
Yeah.
Things like that. But yeah.
I would I've seen some people do this where they'll take a commissioner, someone that they want to commission from, they'll post it in a Facebook group or something like that and be like, hey, just curious, has anyone commissioned from this person before? I'm really interested in their work and just want to know what they're like. And that's a good way of seeing if anyone has, locally commissioned from them, and you can, kind of get some info that way.
Yeah. With commissioning, a lot of the times with it, if it's from a business, you're going to be able to get a cheaper rate than you would if you got a personal commission. But it's the same way that you would have a cheaper rate going to, say, a Ross or I don't know, what's a clothing store? I don't shop at clothing stores, obviously.
Forever 21. I went there the other day.
JCPenney or Forever 21. Going to one of those is going to be cheaper than going to a tailor and getting something custom made to your actual sizes.
But it's on that note, it will be less custom.
Yep.
Because of that.
Yep.
So it's you're gonna get a generic made thing that may need some tweaking on it, or it may be just fine.
Yep. With commissioning, please note in advance it's going to be expensive. Just no negotiation. It is going to be expensive. You need to expect craftspeople to be asking, and this is minimum, to be anywhere from $15 to $30 an hour. For their time, and that's kind of lower end.
It is.
For me, when I do commissions, I would usually charge what I make doing overtime at my regular job, because to me, doing commissions in my spare time is like working overtime. So if I'm not making at least as much as I would be overtime, it's not worth it to me to be doing them. Does that make sense? And I would expect it to be similar.
That, but it's it's got to be worth the person who's making it, because they're taking time out of their free time, out of their normal job. This is a lot of, some of them, this is their normal job, which they should be paid their normal job. And then those who are out in their free time, they should also be paid still the same. It's just common etiquette. Right. Some people think that it's oh, I just want to pay for materials and you'll make it. That's not how it works.
No. Well, and you have to take into consideration how long the person has trained, or how much schooling they've had, or how many classes they've taken, or how much experience it has taken to get them as good as they are. And that experience, that work is worth, is what you're paying for.
It's if you go to have an art commission and they're oh, I'll just, exposure. No, we don't want to be paid in exposure.
No,
that doesn't make up for the time that we spent working on this. It does not.
Yeah. And like I said, that's kind of like lower end, but like you kind of have to expect it to be expensive. Like you're asking for something like a cosplay. Each one is going to be a unique challenge. They're not going to have patterns or pre-made pieces that are specifically in your size. They have to make all of that from scratch.
Yes.
And fittings and things like that are all part of their time to make a good product for you. You're basically getting like a couture, like runway quality sort of garment. And you cannot expect that to be cheap. That is, whew. So yeah, if you have the budget for that, that is awesome. If you want that, make sure you are putting aside enough money that you can properly compensate the artist who is making it. Whatever part of that craft they are doing, like, make sure, like, I cannot stress that one enough, is like to compensate your artists, your craftspeople for their hard work, because it is really difficult, and learning those crafts is hard. What else do I have? I
also want to throw in there that tipping is okay.
Oh yes,
because some commissioners, I do this to myself as well. Undersell themselves. At least I've been told I do this to myself.
You do.
But if you throw on if you throw on, like, if you really like what they've made for you, and if you can, afford it, go ahead and tip them a couple extra. It just makes it, seriously, whenever that's happened to me, it just makes me feel so good. And makes me want to work with that person again in the future as well. Along with, like, as long as you are always polite and courteous the entire time. That is very important. Be polite and courteous the whole time. Those are the people that I want to keep working with, and not the people who are like, get it done now, and are not polite. Yeah, definitely. I love that. Like tipping is hugely nice, and like I never expect it, but whenever I get it, I really appreciate it. It's not required, but like, if you feel like the person deserves it, you should do it. Yeah. On the other side of things, don't let places, swindle you either. It is okay to ask for things like updates, or make sure when you're talking to your commissioner or the shop that you have a clear deadline or timeline of when you're expecting your product. Yeah, and set that deadline before you actually need it.
Yep.
Because like even I've kind of run into this. So you guys have all heard my horror story where I cut my thumb.
Yes.
Yeah, so I was going to have that prop that I was working on. It was actually a commission. I was going to have it done a week before the convention that the person needed it for. And because she had given me an early deadline, and I had injured myself, that actually gave me some wiggle room as the commissioner to finish it on time. I had to deliver it to her at convention, but I still got it to her, and I was I was really appreciative of that wiggle room. If I hadn't had that wiggle room, I would have felt really bad. I wouldn't have gotten it done on time. And then as someone who commissions stuff, if you ask for that time, when you receive it, you can test it out. You can make sure that the pieces fit properly, and if any alterations need to be made, then you have time to send it back. Yeah.
I was going to clarify when I say, like, it's okay to ask your commissioner for updates, or to be, disappointed if they don't meet the deadlines, but on, as far as updates go, like, keep in mind you don't necessarily know what a commissioner's work process is like. So they may have, like, nothing done one day and then have 3 things done the next. So you can ask for updates, just don't be upset if it's further or not as far as you expect it to be.
Yes.
As long as you have outlined, clearly what your deadline and expectations are.
Yes.
Like, I always tell people who commission me, like, yes, I will send you pictures whenever you want of how far along I am. I can't guarantee how far along that will be, but it will be done by the deadline. But, I honestly don't like to cause people worry, and I would rather, like, when I do commissions, I like to, like, send them updates as I finish them. So that way they're like, oh, okay, they know I'm working on something.
And that is a polite thing on the commissioner's side, is keeping your customer informed is very important.
For sure. But having some kind of contract in place is a great idea. Keep in mind that with commissioning, a deposit is pretty normal. They need to have some kind of something to purchase the materials and get started on the work, and that may or may not be refundable. So make sure that you know when you talk to them. It protects their time and money, in buying materials, so they're not out a bunch if you decide you don't want it anymore, sort of a thing.
What I usually do as a
burned with that before.
Yeah. What I usually do as a commissioner is that I ask for, I usually ask for half up front, and if the person doing the commission can't afford that, we can negotiate it, but I always tell them that I won't start work until I have a certain amount. And so, if they want me to be done by a certain time, I'll tell them it's like, okay, it's going to take me 3 months to work on this. So by the time you give me my down payment, I will start.
Right.
But if they keep putting off that down payment, that deadline keeps moving as well. And I let them be aware of that. That it's like,
definitely.
Yeah, because I can't start until I have the funds that I need to start it.
Yep. And then on the other side of things, if you get the product and you, if there's something you need fixed or refunded or repaired, do it immediately.
Yes.
There's nothing more suspicious than someone getting a product, having it for a weekend, like a convention, and then suddenly the Monday after being like, oh, I'm not really satisfied with this. If there's a problem, let them know, right away.
Yes. And that's why I say,
I've had friends where, people will wait, a month or two and be like, I don't actually like this as much as I thought. And I'm like, well, you've had it for a month.
Yeah.
That's, it's frustrating. But yeah.
That's why
anything
it's
else you
setting
want to
a
say
deadline
on commission?
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Setting a deadline for the commission to be weeks to even a month or so ahead of the convention that you want to wear it to, it allows for that wiggle room as well as repairs and whatnot if you are not satisfied with what you have gotten.
Yep. I think that's good.
Also, pay your commissioner, if you're commissioning something, pay through something where you have a safe bet of getting your money back if something does go horribly wrong.
Yeah.
Because there are some people out there who pretend to be commissioners and either have cruddy, they send out cruddy work, they are horrible to work with, or they just take your money and run. Make sure you go through whatever you trust to pay for things. Use that.
And be careful, because things with PayPal, they'll have you pay as either a friends and family or as a business transaction, and one of them will let you refund it and the other won't. So make sure you know the difference and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, so do your research on how to pay for things and what will be best protection for you, because that's very important.
Yes.
I
think that's about it.
Yeah, I think that is about it. Do you want to do some horror stories?
Oh boy. Well, I kind of already talked about mine.
You did.
in that I just want the mental image for to stick with everybody with the silly putty, because what I did was I did Side on Spelt, and I did it I had traced it out as a piece of paper, and then I laid it over wax paper so I could see it, and I sculpted it on top of this paper, and I went to pull it up to move it, and it just stretched the entire thing out into it looked like pizza dough or something as I was like pulling it, and just like strands were pulling and dripping, and it was the saddest thing. I was so mad because I spent like an hour and a half sculpting it to that nice thing, and it was still warm, and I was like, well, it's warm, but it's not hot, so I should be able to move it. And no, you cannot. You cannot. And I found that out like, 8 hours before we were supposed to leave for the convention, and that was super fun.
Oh, goodness. It's like, I'm doing okay. Sniffles. I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Test your materials, guys.
Please.
Yeah. So,
what's yours?
Mine, I don't know if I've told one of these already, so I'm gonna do both of them because they're both dying stories.
Do it. Do it.
So my first wig that I dyed was for Xerxes Break. Because in the anime and like all of his promo pictures and whatnot, his hair is white, but it's not.
But it's purpley white.
It's purpley white. It's like a very, very light lavender. And so I had never dyed a wig before. And I was like doing all this research online, and this was before like all those wig places online had like a bazillion colors you could choose from. So I had a cheap white wig sitting on my wig head, and I had trimmed it already, so it was like in the style that I wanted, and I was like super excited. Did all this research, ordered this wig dye online, and got it. And I didn't test any pieces at all. I just went for it. I followed the instructions, held the wig upside down, sprayed the stuff in, let it dry, came back, and it was cotton candy pink. I was like, this is not light lavender. This is pink. And I'm so mad that I just threw the whole thing away. So fast forward to, a few years later. This is a story I think I might maybe have told already, but I don't know. Fast forward a few years later, I'm working on Aloy. And I was like, I want to hand dye her wig. Like, I know more now. Like, I could do this. And so I looked up ways to dye wigs online. Got myself a blonde one. So I didn't go like full white. I was like, I want to do some blondes, and I can do some test pieces to make sure that it turns into this kind of like reddish color. And then I wanted to have it gradient so that it would go from red to blonde, right? It's like a reddish brown down into these blonde colors. And I did my test pieces, tried different combinations of the dyes that I was using, found a shade on this little tiny, like, test piece, and I was like, that's the color I want. Okay, I got this. And so I go and I dye the whole thing. First thing that happened was that I screwed up on the gradient dye. So everything was red, and I was like, cool, that's fine, I can just sew in blonde wefts, I'll be okay. And then it dried. I just sat there looking at it and was like, I am not allowed to dye wigs.
Mercedes.
It was a gorgeous burgundy purple. But it was not what I wanted. It's a gorgeous wig. It is not the color I was aiming for. So
dang it.
I'll find a character that'll work for, maybe?
Yeah.
But it's sitting in the timeout box. I didn't throw that one away because it wasn't a cheap wig. It was a very expensive lace front.
Oh, jeez. Oh, that's rough.
Yeah. But I was like, but I did the tiny weft. I did the tiny test piece first.
Oh, man.
So, anyways.
Yeah.
I don't know what I did wrong.
Well. You'll just have to dye a bunch of wigs.
I know, I probably should try dyeing more of them. I am just very much of the... I'm just bad at it. I've also tried dyeing fabrics before as well, and also had that turn into... I'm just not good at dyeing, and I think it's because I'm really bad with color. Like, I have to have Sadie help me pick out colors when I go to the store and I'm purchasing stuff, and I'm like, do these blues go together? And she's like, Mercedes, why'd you pick those? That one's warm, that one's cold. No. And I'm like, what? I thought they looked good together. I understand that there are warm blues and cold blues and warm grays and cold grays, but I am so bad at... Oh no! At, deciding if they should actually go together.
I get that.
Yeah, so anyways, if you want to die, I highly recommend trying it out. It's okay if you decide it's not for you.
If you want to die.
Oh my gosh.
You want to try it out.
Patton!
Sorry. Oh
no. David's like saying he's thought the same thing. No. I am.
Oh no.
Unintentional pun. Okay.
Anyway. If you guys want to send us your horror stories, your stories of triumph, feel-good cosplay fun stories, or just ideas you have for a future episode, you can email us at CosplayStitchandSeam@gmail.com.
Or go to CosplayStitchandSeam.com and you can fill out the form and it'll send it straight to us there.
And remember that, like, the blog posts always have little extras, so if you're just listening on, like, wherever you get your podcast, basically, if you're listening there, there's also more content that you're missing out on if you don't go to the blog, so...
Yeah, sometimes it's big, huge posts, sometimes it's just, a photo and a couple little bit of extra tidbits, but I always try to put something a little extra. There's always, unless I'm super lazy, there's always a photo, though.
Yay! But yeah, and then make sure if you want to interact with other people, talk about cosplay and your stitches and seams and props and all that fun stuff, go to our Facebook group, Cosplay Stitch and Seam. There's a page and a Facebook group. The page is kind of what we post with, so join the group. It is moderated, so make sure, like, if you don't get in right away, we will review it as fast as we can.
Yeah, it's mostly me just checking and being like, is this a person? Yes, okay.
Yeah. If you'd like to help us out, we do have a Ko-fi account. It helps pay for our, basically our bandwidth for our website, for all that fun stuff. And that's on KOFI Coffee, and our name on there is Coffee, the number 4 Cosplay Seams. Yeah, if you'd like to see us at a local con and talking about the community in your area, doing interviews at conventions you love, let us know. Let your local convention staff know. We'd love to come out and see you guys. Yeah, anything else you want to add? Music?
Music by Macy Roberts.
Yeah, thank you, Macy.
Yeah.
Editing is always done by David Jeffres of Comic Trades Monthly and Dungeons and Chill.
His podcasts are awesome.
Yeah, so make sure you're checking those out. You ready for some really, really bad puns? I have like 3 this week.
Oh my gosh, I'm excited. Okay.
Oh no.
Let's do this.
I figured we'd need 3 because, money puns make a lot of sense. Money talks, but all mine ever says is goodbye.
Oh.
And one last thought to ponder. I'm gonna see if I can say it without laughing in the middle of it. But here we go.
Challenge round.
So shh. Oh, I'm gonna die. Okay, here I go. If you fart in your wallet, is it gas money?
Oh. Oh my gosh. Dude, I'm telling that one to my dad. That's a good dad joke. I like that one. Whew.
Bye. Goodbye forever.
Oh, goodbye forever. No.
Okay.
See you guys next week.